1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
MADDOG, BEACHBALL, and Trooper Sam as they expose the communist infestation in our culture with Don't Tread on Me right here on N3 Radio, starting right now.
And we're back. Once again, we're back on Don't Tread on Me. This is episode 36. Title of the show is Draft Brie Larson, Captain Marvel. It's March 6th, 2019. Welcome back to N3 Radio Presents Don't Tread on Me. I am your host, MADDOG. I got along with me BEACHBALL. BEACHBALL, how you doing?
I'm doing great, MADDOG.
We got Trooper Sam.
And I'm doing all right. I'm just trying to keep the house quiet while we do the show. You know what I'm saying.
So these guys are here with me to stand up to the social justice wackos.
Hello, Troopers.
Did you hear me? I came through, right?
Or did I?
All right, we're kind of stepping on each other a little bit here. Well, hopefully we'll get our technical difficulties. But today, standing up to the social justice wackos with me is Trooper Sam and BEACHBALL. Hopefully all that went through. Captain Marvel is already being review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, we intentionally had the idea that we were going to record this show roughly 4 or 5 days ago. And, life got in the way and prevented us from all getting together. So when it comes to this Captain Marvel movie that's, coming out this weekend, probably by the time you hear this show, it'll probably have been out at least a weekend. The opening weekend will be done. But we want to talk about it anyway because of all the bullshit surrounding it. And the social justice impact of the Marvel cinematic universe. So I have this article. It's from comicbook.com. It's by a young lady named Nicole Drum. Captain Marvel is already being review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes. So we're going to have our infamous social justice warrior Sam
right here.
He's going to read the article for us. And
yes, I am.
We're
it's
like
like
6
woke. Paragraphs, but I can get through this quick.
We're going to get woke. All right.
All right, here we go. Let's make some room for Sam. Here I am. Okay. Captain Marvel may be one of 2019's most anticipated movies, coming in second only behind Avengers Endgame, according to IMDb. Is it though? But that isn't stopping some people on the internet from trashing the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe film on Rotten Tomatoes just a few weeks before it debuts in theaters. A quick look at the audience review page for Captain Marvel over on Rotten Tomatoes had flooded with negative, angry reviews, making air quotes here, of the film. And while there are some genuine comments noting excitement for the film, Most have an uncommon common theme: anger about Captain Marvel being centered around a female hero.
Oh no, not a female!
Oh, such pigs!
You know that I'm just scared of a female hero on a film.
You are. You're just you pigs just review bombing these things and not letting women of color and this is intersectional feminism. Just get out of the way, okay? Let me read.
Go ahead.
Anyway, a disproportionate number of the comments on the review page cite issues with a perception that Captain Marvel is sexist for a variety of reasons, including but not limited to the gender of the primary hero, star Brie Larson, backing of a campaign to send underprivileged girls to see Captain Marvel, and generally a number of trolls complaining that the film is a social justice warrior film. Some have even gone so far as to lodge the same complaints about Captain Marvel, which, again, won't hit theaters for another few weeks. Although, getting close now. And the first reactions to the film aren't set to debut until tomorrow, although now we're already past that. Yep. And a certain subtext of fans, air quotes again, did about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Sadly, this isn't the first time a swath of fans have attempted to sabotage a new Marvel film. Last February, there was an organized effort by disgruntled fans to attack Black Panther with false negative reviews. While those fans claimed that their efforts were essentially revenge for poor reviews of Justice League and anger over Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Well, let's face it, Justice League sucked. Many of the attacks cited complaints about Black Panther being centered around a superhero. Black superhero. Now, with the false reviews of Captain Marvel also attacking the concept of diversity, be it gender or race-related, it feels a bit like a pattern. Of course, there's a positive pattern that can emerge from all of this. Despite the attempted sabotage, Black Panther is the 9th biggest movie in the worldwide box office, with a growth of over $1.3 billion. The film has also been nominated for 7 Academy Awards and won none of them, including Best Picture, the first superhero movie to ever be nominated in that category. When it comes to Captain Marvel, the film is currently tracking for $120 million opening weekend.
Is it?
And while that would be a bit shy of Black Panther's 4-day holiday weekend take last year, it put the ahead of Iron Man at $98 million and Spider-Man Homecoming at $117 million, and in contention with Iron Man 2 at $128 million. Movies which were all considered very much a success.
But before we go on, I'd just like to say that my network and phone rejected SJW Sam's voice to a point where I'm getting Atari 2600 sounds over here.
I've had that before. I've totally had that.
Wow. I'm playing Yar's Revenge over here, listening to SJW Sam. It's
at least
great.
You don't have to sit next to him, all right? I have to shush him out of the room at this point. Okay, you read your article. You can't just kick me out of here. Yes, I can. Out. You've done your part. You're
Lock
done.
him back in the closet.
Out.
Back in the closet.
Go.
So let's attack this right here from the very beginning. Okay. They're suggesting, at least they were suggesting at this part when this article came out, that it was roughly going to make $180 million or $120 million at the opening, right?
Yep.
Well, it went all the way up to $180 million.
80, yeah,
and
I
then
heard
it went
that too.
all the way down to probably $80 million. Because, first of all, I don't know of any coordinated attack on Black Panther. That just sounds like more...
Seriously, how do you even get a true coordinated attack? I mean, really. Where would people do that even?
I honestly
Where
will
would
tell
people
you...
actually care that much?
Any opinion that is not the popular opinion is going to be considered, exactly
Nobody
that.
has... has the time or energy to frickin' brigade movie reviews.
Well, I mean, honestly, to be honest, I think we could do it. There's enough people who are joining this Comicsgate and Fandom Menace movement where if we wanted to organize a legitimate review bomb, we absolutely have the manpower.
But that's the key. That's just not us. It's not what we do.
But that's the thing in this fandom. I've been around it now for a couple of months where this outcasted fandom that we're calling Comicsgate and Fandom Menace, and there was no coordinated effort to do anything. People were just going there on their own, including myself. I went there because I wanted Disney to know that I was not interested in paying to see Brie Larson run her suck about how there needs to be less white people here, there, or anywhere. I'm sick and tired. Look, I'm all in support of your First Amendment right to say whatever you want, but I don't have to be the person who pays for it. And I want them to know that. That's where it comes down to. We don't have to pay for this bullshit. So the very first thing, it's the article is titled "Already Being Review Bombed." Well, that's not even true, because the Rotten Tomatoes was not aggregating reviews at that point because the movie hasn't come out.
That was viewer anticipation stuff.
It was an interested or not interested button. Do you know what happened after these articles started coming out saying that they were being review bombed? Did you know what the action of Rotten Tomatoes was? Rotten Tomatoes, a subsidiary of Fandango, which is owned by Comcast, by the way. Rotten Tomatoes has a high-level person that is a former Disney bigwig. Okay? So if we're telling you that Rotten Tomatoes has an agenda to, or is maybe there's some collusion, maybe some quid pro quo, maybe. I would have to say The Last Jedi was a perfect example. These people reviewing these movies, and they know they're caught. They know they're red-handed, and this we'll find out later as we talk about Captain Marvel on why that is. So these people, they get all kinds of special perks to go to an MCU, a Star Wars movie, nice and early. They get to go to the red carpet. They get to see the celebrities and all that stuff. Well, those people love that shit. They eat it all up. And they're willing to sacrifice their integrity to maintain the narrative. So what ultimately happened is people were going out of their way to go to Rotten Tomatoes to click the not interested button. So the SJWs got bent out of shape because they need this movie to win, regardless of how good it is. Because of what Captain Marvel ultimately, what
it means to the narrative, what it means to the message, what it means to the whole thing, the script that they're creating that says who's good and who's bad, and what ideology wins.
See, let's talk about Captain Marvel as a character. So, what's the character's name? It's Lynn Danvers, right? Is that correct? Does anybody know? I'm pretty sure.
What's it, Laura Danvers?
Laura Danvers, Lynn Danvers, something like that. Anyway, the iteration of her comic is a complete failure. They've canceled the comic 9 times. It's not... See, Marvel doesn't have a standalone female character like DC does. Captain Marvel is not Wonder Woman. She's not at the same level. She's not somebody who can hold a comic book on her own. So it was very important for these SJW writers who are currently embedded in Marvel Comics to push this character out there. And as what we're hearing from the reviews is that, she's a complete Mary Sue. Does everybody... Maybe we should reiterate what a Mary Sue is. Basically...
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
do that.
Basically in narrative, whether it's film or novels or comics, a Mary Sue character is a female character that's flawless. I mean, that's the most simplistic way to explain it. Doesn't have any character growth, and it's our biggest complaint about Rey from Star Wars at this point. At this point, she has shown no flaws, so she's a kind of a trash character. Now, I don't think it was J.J. Abrams' original intention to have Rey be a trash character. I think he intended and set left strings untied for those character development moments to be, made in Episode 8. And I don't think Rian Johnson picked the ball up and ran with it. I think he...
Well, there's an understatement.
Yeah.
I think he picked the ball up and started playing a different sport.
That's a pretty good way to put it, I think.
Exactly.
It was just a matter of, here, I've given you a bunch of things that you can make as complex as you want. Okay, I'm going to play Tiddlywinks.
And here, real quick, to piggyback on your idea, MADDOG, there are a lot better vehicles to use than Captain Marvel to advance your SJW feminist agenda. A lot better comic book material than Captain Marvel. I mean, hell, bring back fucking Red Sonja. I mean, that's a better vehicle for your SJW, thing. But you're right. It's deplorable.
Yeah. So what I think that the intention of Marvel was to make this flawless female character who was going to come in and he was going to save the day in Endgame. And I'm hearing some rumors that may not be happening anymore. So
yeah, no, I've heard the same thing that. Well, I've also heard two rumors regarding who's the person in charge of
Kevin Feige.
Is it Kevin? Not Kevin Feige. Is it? It is Feige. Okay, yeah. I've heard two things. One, like you mentioned, they've filmed two different endings for Endgame, just in case if Captain Marvel bombs or does well.
Right. And
second of all, and this was a great, there's no proof in it, no truth in it, but a great conspiracy theory and a great thing to think about, is that Kevin Feige did this on purpose. He said, "Oh, you want to go full SJW? Well, here's enough rope for you to hang yourself on." I've heard that rumor as well.
I would love that one to be true.
And you know what? I honestly feel like that Kevin Feige as a whole has done a real good job of being inclusive without pushing the political agenda.
And still keeping the story entertaining to fans.
Absolutely. I mean, you can read a lot of things. I always tell people, like, if you're going to watch an MCU movie, go watch Captain America Civil War. Captain America Civil War is a complete slap in SJW face. They don't even fucking see it. That's the fucking amazing part about it. They don't even fucking see it. But our SJWs would love that somehow Captain Marvel would kill Captain America because that's their agenda. So we got a bad character. We got a bad actress playing her who's only been anything other than vocal about her SJW position. She's totally pumping the cultural Marxism down everybody's throat at every chance she gets to speak in public. And I think the backlash was like in particular at Brie Larson. So the fans took to the aggregate of Rotten Tomatoes and started clicking the not interested button. So,
and truly, before this, I'd never heard of her. What has she been in? What has she done?
She has an Oscar, I believe. I don't remember what the film is off the top of my head. I feel bad that I don't know it. Maybe our producer.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
There's Beach Ball saying what's actually on my mind without me having to say it.
Reiterating what I just said. So to go into the second part of this, Brie Larson has this campaign to send underprivileged girls to see Captain Marvel. So she goes on all the talk shows. I want to say, who's the lady who dances, the gay lady? Oh my God, I can't think of her name. The little short haircut. She's kind of funny. I don't have no problem against her. Anyway,
Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Okay,
She goes on Ellen.
Dance wouldn't have been the first thing that came to my mind.
Well, that's what she's known for. She does her dance on every show. Anyway, so and she goes on to Ellen DeGeneres and she talks about these campaigns backing the idea of sending these underprivileged girls to see Captain America. Now, people kind of I start raising, hey, isn't this a conflict of interest? You can't ask people to donate money to something that's going to directly benefit you. So people in the Comicsgate community started throwing up the flag, hey, what the fuck are you doing, Brie? You can't ask people to donate to something that's going to directly benefit you. So that became the second part of this article where this lady is complaining, oh, well, everybody's pissed off because she asked to send, oh, my God, the underprivileged girls. And I think Ethan Van Sciver says it best when he says, well, why not send those underprivileged girls somewhere where they could get some food or some medical attention?
Or, better educational opportunities. How about some friggin' heat for the house?
Right. I think I think the idea that she's going to these GoFundMes to send underprivileged girls to see a movie so that they can stare at her is kind of fucking ridiculous.
Seriously, this movie ain't going to be that transformative.
So we started kind of pushing back on that. And then I think that's where I decided to go onto the Rotten Tomatoes and check out how that was going. And I noticed that I think around the time where I clicked I wasn't interested, it was at an 80% interested percentage. And as the week went along, it went down to 69%, down to 63%, down to 59%, down to 52%, down to 47%, down to 43%, all the way down to 27%. So this is what happens. All of a sudden, out of the blue, out of the freaking blue,
we no longer have a button to say we're interested in going.
Yeah, we've always been meaning to take care of that. We've always been meaning to get rid of that pesky interested button or not interested button.
That's always been in the plan.
So they removed it. Okay? So let's mind you that the early screenings of this film were roughly, I want to say about 2 weeks ago. So the critics were under embargo until yesterday. So it's March 5th, which is a Tuesday. So they weren't allowed to say anything about the movie. And the fact that ultimately that they pushed those review embargo to the 5th, which is roughly 2 days before the movie comes out, is a glaring signal that the reviews aren't good. So the whole idea that we have the owner of Company X, or the bigwig in Company X, used to be a bigwig in Disney, scratching each other's backs. So they remove the interest button. Then the articles start coming out about how we're trolling reviews. Well, you weren't able to review the movie. The review embargo didn't allow people to review the movie. So whether you saw the movie or not, none of the reviews are being counted. So it's kind of like intellectually dishonest to come out.
Or just outright lying, you know, if
right.
we want to be, if we want to be actually intellectually honest.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like to use intellectually dishonest, but that just really means you're fucking lying. But, you know, but that's my nice way of saying things. So,
just like fake news, you're just lying.
Exactly, you're just straight out lying. And I mean, everything that fucking these fucking social justice warriors are about are complete false flags and fucking hoaxes these days. And we're gonna talk more about that. But I'll just let you know, I would say that the biggest thing that happened in for women this month has nothing to do with Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. It has to do with the fact that Brie Larson can take her ass down to the and get her selective service registered. Because
oh yes,
yeah. So we'll get into that a little later. But so yesterday the embargo's lifted, and all of a sudden, all the reviews are out there about Captain Marvel.
I read just a destructive one yesterday. Oh my God.
The holy grail of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Captain Marvel. And what you see when you're reading it is, there was some positive reviews. But they're positive reviews by people who were not going to jeopardize their relationship with the Disney Corporation.
Exactly.
And even with those positive reviews, when you read into them, you realize that they're just, Captain Marvel's a fun movie. There's really no substance to it. And then when you think, the 90%, this is a 90%, you start going down the list of all the reviews, you realize that some of the people who may be worried about their integrity are starting to kind of sound off that, maybe this movie isn't good.
Did you see the one from New York Post?
I did. I saw, I think it was Jeremy I did see Ethan Van Sciver review it this morning, which I thought was interesting.
I had to love this particular paragraph from the New York Post review. The main Skrull chasing Vers is Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn. The actor bizarrely keeps his thick Aussie accent intact beneath his rubber mask, and the character says things that aliens simply would not say, such as, "Hang on now before you start swinging those jazz hands around." Jazz hands?
So... What's going to happen is, now that the reviews are up, and the reviews are not great for this movie. I don't know what the aggregate score is right now.
It's been going down as the day goes on, MADDOG.
Where are we at now?
I don't know where we're at right now, but we were up in the high 80s, and then it was at around noon at 83 and falling.
Well, 83 is bad. 83 is bad for a Disney movie. That means that people, if people are hanging at an 83, it means they don't have much to say about this film. Because if this film was even halfway decent, if it was an 83 legitimately, it would be scored as a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics
show it 85 right now.
So can somebody check out what's that Metacritic? So we found out Metacritic is a legitimate source. So there was a Metacritic score.
Let's have a look. All right.
Yeah, Trooper Sam could probably get it faster than me.
Yep, 65 currently.
It's 65 on the meta. Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
I wouldn't hold it past Rotten Tomatoes to censor out reviews that do not sympathize or empathize with this film.
Well, again, you said it pretty well earlier, how a lot of the reviewers are not going to go against the industry. I mean, who is a bigger player in the industry right now than Disney?
Nobody.
Don't displease Disney.
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
So,
and it may be a reason.
And you have to have the ability to get into screenings before the audience does, so that way you could virtue signal away on your review, and signal your allegiance.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So I'm gonna play a 4-minute video here. It's from Geeks and Gamers. Check out Jeremy's gonna talk about Rotten Tomatoes. Let me pull it up here. Tracks. Oh, okay, well, helps if I do that. All right, we're going.
Well, here we go. Brie Larson and the impact she is having, the negative impact she is having on so many different businesses is absolutely unbelievable. Obviously, I touched on this a little bit last night. I did a live stream, and then I also, I did a video on it when I immediately heard about it. But Rotten Tomatoes has now removed the ability to express your interest or your disinterest in a movie. They've actually done this. Now, they're going to claim that this was planned or whatever, but the timing could not be more suspicious. 2 weeks out from Captain Marvel, while Captain Marvel is absolutely tanking so much by the want to see, and you've seen us all cover it. It went from a 96 all the way down to, at the moment they did this, a 26%. Now, I'm just blown away by this. I'm blown away by this. So they have their little deal here where they are trying to talk about how they're making changes, and I'm just going to focus on this part right here. Where it basically says, as of February 25th, we will no longer show the want-to-see percentages score for a movie during its pre-release period. Why, might you ask? We found that the want-to-see percentage score is oftentimes confused with the audience score percentage number. And then they talk about how it's confusing and people don't understand it, and they try to break it down. Rotten Tomatoes has confused people for as long as I've heard of Rotten Tomatoes. Long before I owned a website, long before I had a YouTube channel, Rotten Tomatoes has always confused people. So the fact that you're trying to say confusion is the reason you're making changes is unbelievable. We're talking like, I don't know, 10 years I've been familiar with Rotten Tomatoes, and people have always been confused about Rotten Tomatoes. They don't understand how it works, they don't understand how the reviews are broken down, they think if something is a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, then it means it got a 92 out of 100. Not what happens. That means 92% of critics found it favorable, but it could have been a 7 out of 10. It could have been 35 7 out of 10s. And maybe 2 or 3, 4 out of 10s, and it breaks down like that. Nobody understands how Rotten Tomatoes works. So for you to make this change because of confusion is garbage. So you are basically taking people's voices away. We have seen this happen with other movies in the past, but with Captain Marvel, it really started getting a lot of attention because of Brie Larson's comments. And because of Brie Larson's comments, over and over again, she won't stop with the comments. Over and over. So fans are voicing their displeasure, going, I don't want to see this movie. It was at once at 96%, and then it went all the way down to 26%. And now it is gone. The ability to speak is no longer there because they didn't like the opinions that were being shared. This is unreal. This is where we're at. This is where we're at with these companies. They don't want your opinions if they go against their own. They only want an echo chamber. They are pushing narrative. They're pushing an agenda. This is so obvious to so many of us that are paying attention right now. Unreal. So we're going to continue to check this out. We're going to continue to follow this story. But as of right now, I'm just blown away. I'm absolutely blown away by this. So this is I'm going to do this upload right now and get this thing out. Mind-blowing stuff that's going on right now with Rotten Tomatoes, mainstream media, the shield media, Disney, Marvel, to tell Brie Larson to shut her mouth. I mean, it's not that complicated. But you've allowed this. You created this monster. And Brie Larson, like, do you think this is going to help Rotten Tomatoes? Like, this is not going to help Captain Marvel. This is going to hurt it even more. So many people are going to cover this. This is not going to help. Unreal. It is time, guys. We have got to continue to speak up. Right now, it's more important than ever before. Share this video, please. Like this video. Drop a comment below. Let me know how you feel. I read all the comments. Check out geeksgamers.com. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.
All right, so that was Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. You can check out his YouTube channel, like and share, subscribe, definitely. You can check out his website and his Facebook group. Check out the Facebook group; it's really pretty cool. Right now, it's getting infested with SJWs that are attacking the group.
What a surprise!
Oh yeah, that's what they do. I mean, so. This is a good point. Let me bring this up right now. So we have a Don't Tread on Me at N3 Radio Facebook group, and I do.
It's growing. It's growing every day.
Yeah, it's growing every day. More and more people are interested. It's a really cool group. We post a lot of the stuff that we talk about. Like if I have an article, I'll post it there so you can read it on your own. Now, what's really cool about the group is that it's like-minded people, but we have to have some security up to ensure that we don't have trolls, SJW beta males, jumping in there telling us how come they're feminists. So we do have security controls up. If you post something, it just has to go through a process to let a moderator, give it the thumbs up and allow it to go. And
yeah, basically just has to pass my sniff test and I'll let it go.
Right, but if we smell fucking soy milk and glitter, you're not going to be in the group. We'll just bounce you out of the group.
That's right. If I smell the sweat from under a set of man boobs, it's not going.
I mean, there's a reason why we use handles. We're all professionals. We all want to continue to feed our wife and kids, and we don't want people coming in here and posting up false flag racism, just to say, oh, this group is a hate group. We're not a hate group. And I just want that to be loud and clear. Our opinions may differ from other people's opinions, but and if there are people in our group who are legitimately fans of the KKK and Nazi Hitler of 1936, we're going to boot them too, because we are,
because fuck those guys.
Yeah, because fuck them. Because you can have free speech, but I don't have to pay for it.
There you go.
So,
nor do I have to listen to it.
So we brought it up during the Brie Larson spiel. Judge rules male-only military draft is unconstitutional. This article is from the Daily Wire. Emily Zanotti. A federal court judge in Texas has struck a blow for feminism. Yeah, it's for feminism, right, guys?
That's right.
Ruling Friday that a men-only draft is unconstitutional and represents an instance of gender-based discrimination under the...
Wait a minute! Not that kind of equality!
We don't want to be bricklayers.
I wish Al was here for this. This would be a perfect subject for Al. Oh, I did talk to Al this week, guys. Al is doing good. He's doing good in school. He's working on, getting his schooling done. Hopefully we'll have him to do some contributing to the show here.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to do a show with him.
So
I missed that retard.
Oh, you really are an ass.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are, Jimmy. So, gender-based discrimination under the 5th and 14th Amendments. San Diego Union Tribune reports that the judge sided with the San Diego Men's Advocacy Group that challenged the government's practice of having only men sign up for the draft. Though a judge stopped short of ordering the selective service system to register women for the military service, two men in Texas who were then of age to register for the selective service system, filed suit against the government over the draft back in 2013, claiming that it was unfair to discriminate against women in the draft, particularly given that women now serve in frontline combat roles in the military and are competing with men for some of the military's most difficult roles. The San Diego men's rights group, the National Coalition for Men, eventually joined in the suit. The case balances on the tension between constitutionality, enshrined power of Congress to raise armies, and the constitutional mandate that no person be denied the equal protection of the law. The judge wrote in his decision. He added that the decision was needed because Congress has been debating the issue of drafting women for decades with no results.
Fact.
That's true. The judge believes that its time has come to rectify the problem, justifying his decision to upend 1980s guaranteed exemption women from the selective service with a 2015 Defense Department order lifting all gender-based restrictions on military service and combat roles, noting that the DOJ's intent with the order was clearly to eliminate all gender-based restrictions in the military across the board, according to USA Today. He went as far to suggest that women may be better suited for some combat roles, giving the military an even greater excuse to explore bringing more women into the fold. The average woman can conceivably be better suited physically for some of today's combat positions than the average man, depending on which skills the positions required. Combat roles no longer uniformly require sheer size or muscle, the judge's decision reads. Feminists have long fought for the equal access to military roles, once restricted to men only, but have stopped short of pushing for gender-neutral selective service, even though other countries require both genders to register and serve equally.
Also a fact.
Right. The judge's decision here does not require the government to make major changes to the selective service system yet, and the plaintiffs seem to have one more of a symbolic decision than one that will make any real impact on women in the military. But the decision does signal a sea change in how courts could view the issue. The National Commission on Military, National, and Public Service is currently studying the issue, is expected to render a more concrete decision soon. The commission is also considering doing away with their draft altogether, given that the draft has not been used for decades and was used highly controversially during the Vietnam War. So, this is a big win for women. This is a big feminist movement, and yet it was crickets. Not one person on Twitter, standing up for the idea that that they too have the opportunity and pleasure and honor of being sacrificed on the battlefield against their will.
Seriously, if they're calling for equality, why is this not part of that equality?
I was always an advocate for gay marriage, not because I have anything in stake. I mean, I think legally gay marriage is a good thing. Because when it comes to gay parents or same-sex parents who have children and decide to divorce, well, gender can no longer be the deciding factor on who gets the children, who gets custody of the children. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, and my support for gay marriage is very simple. I believe that gay couples have the exact same right that heterosexual couples have to be exactly as miserable as we are.
Right. I mean, where I stop is I don't believe that government should interfere with the church's right to maintain marriage as they see fit. But I realize, as somebody who is married once by church and once by law, that they're two entirely different things. So, in my personal opinion. We're going to talk a little bit about guns, but first, I got a little clip here.
Pray! This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My rifle is my best friend. It is my life. I must master it as I Hit it, sweetheart. Sir!
Little Full Metal Jacket for you folks.
And you know,
jelly donut.
Side note there. How the Academy of Motion Picture Arts failed to note that R. Lee Ermey's death in the in memoriam section.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Just can't even imagine.
I wonder why. Well, we that's our little memoriam to R. Lee Ermey. Thank you, Gunny. Rest in peace. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Before we go into this California DOJ confiscating registered firearms audio, Sam, there's been a couple developments over the last 2 days. What are you bringing to the table, buddy?
Well, let's see. Let's start with the newest one that I've got, and this just happened yesterday in the state of Hawaii. Now, anybody who's paid any attention to anything going on in the world of gun rights and those against it knows that Hawaii is no friend to gun rights. I mean, it's one of those may issue states in which they basically are may not issue because, heck, in the entire year of 2017, they didn't issue a single permit to a citizen of the state. But this one's a big one. As of yesterday, the Senate in the Hawaiian legislature passed out a resolution calling for an Article 5 Convention of the States to repeal or amend the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. We're talking, this is a big one. Be it resolved by the Senate of the 30th Legislature of the State of Hawaii, regular section of 2019, the House of Representatives concurring that the United States Congress is urged to propose and adopt a proposed amendment to the United States Constitution pursuant to Article 5 of the United States Constitution to clarify the constitutional right to bear arms. Be it further resolved that the United States Congress is requested to consider and discuss whether the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution should be repealed or amended to clarify that the right to bear arms is a collective rather than individual constitutional right. See, this is a big one because this is an entire state legislature that has now come out and openly said, oh yeah, we really want to take your guns and we really want to strike it from the Constitution of the United States.
Do you want to start a civil war? Because I think this is how you start a civil war.
Well, thankfully, here's the thing. It's still symbolic. Number one, we've never had an Article 5 convention. It's even fuzzy exactly how one would be truly called for and brought together. But there's dangerous things to it too. Should an Article 5 convention be called for by a certain number of states, and one would be convened, there could be nothing more dangerous to the Constitution and to this republic, because the reason you call an Article 5 convention isn't binding. Once it's called, you can do whatever you want. It can range as far as completely eliminating and replacing the Constitution, top to bottom. Keep in mind, the Constitutional Convention of 1787 was originally supposed to just amend and revise the Articles of Confederation just to take care of problems, the obvious problems that it had. Nobody was expecting an entirely new constitution out of that. Now, here's the good part. Anything that comes out of an Article 5 convention still has to be ratified by 38 states. Now, if that Article 5 convention were to pass out anything that said 2A is anything other than an individual right, what do you think the odds are of them getting 38 states?
I don't see it.
Slim to none and slim left town.
Yeah, because there's plenty of Democratic states that would lose their shit. I mean, if you completely but they could do it on there's a lot of propaganda out there about semi-automatic weapons and the so-called assault weapon, and they could just go ahead and declare that all semi-automatic weapons in all forms are assault weapons, therefore should be banned.
I mean, the Trump administration's already done something very close to that anyway. When they took the bump stock issue,
yeah, but that's still
arbitrarily declared it through regulatory process to declare that to be an actual machine gun when it doesn't even meet the statutory language of the National Firearms Act. What I'm holding that out as is a really good example of how you could do the same thing to semi-automatics.
You know, let's talk a couple minutes about the bump stock stuff, because in my personal opinion, I don't think there's any use for a bump stock. I think it's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I used one once. It was hilarious. It was a lot of fun, but that's all I thought of it.
I actually
was
kind of
a very amusing toy.
I kind of feel like it's dangerous. It doesn't allow the weapon to be operated in the way it was designed, and I particularly have an issue with that. And I remember back in the day, they used to have these 3-round burst kind of attachments that you would put in the trigger guard of the AR-15. Or they have a little. They had a similar little crank handle that you'd be able to crank it, and then you could fire on it. I just think those things, manipulating a weapon to fire outside of its normal function, I don't particularly care for that kind of stuff, and I really don't have a problem with the actual banning of the bump stock itself.
Nor do I. My issue is how it was done.
It's the language in the law that basically could be described any piece of accessory or gun part.
Well, I mean, specifically that they took regulatory language and amended statutory law with it. They changed the definition of machine gun by saying this thing that doesn't do what the statutory language says is a machine gun. You've just opened the door to declare anything a machine gun.
Right. I mean, like we could call a blunderbuss a machine gun at this point.
Mm-hmm. There's my problem.
Right. I mean, like, I definitely agree with you on that sentiment. And you know, and California is already stretched beyond what the legal definitions of things are, and they've unilaterally. Within the bureaucracy have changed the definitions of what certain firearms are and classified as. So we're always on our guard. Before we get into the audio, there was a thing going around trying to discredit Trump even further about now mentally ill vets are not allowed or are banned to buy weapons. Is that? I mean, what do you got on that?
I'll give you the particulars of that one. And this is actually pretty old. I mean, keep in mind, this came about in 2017, shortly after Trump came to office. During the end of the Obama administration, I think we all remember President Obama's pen in his phone. Right. And when he decided that since Congress was not going to work with him on effective gun control, he was going to promulgate regulations on his own so he could basically maintain his anti-gun bona fides. The regulations he made were of almost zero effect. They were completely useless. They were entirely symbolic. One of those regulations that he promulgated was for individuals collecting Social Security disability insurance benefits. For those people that needed a third-party fiduciary, somebody that could manage their benefits, because basically they weren't particularly competent. They, dealing with money or dealing with their personal issues and like that was something they had problems with. So they had a third party assigned. It could even be a family member to just take care of those things.
So being somebody who has a family member who has a cosign for his Social Security benefits, he's somebody I in particularly wouldn't want to have a gun.
Indeed.
Because
I'm not even going to argue that fact because, let's face it, I got one of those too, and he's not right in the head at all. But here's my issue with this. Number one, the thing that I posted up, this was a thing from Snopes that it was a fact check. Did President Trump revoke background checks for mentally ill people? Their take on it, mostly true.
Right. When,
in fact, it wasn't true at all. Because these people, they might be a few fries short of a Happy Meal. There's a specific legal bar for what defines mentally ill.
Right.
And that's what goes into the National Instant Check System. That bar they were adjudicated as mentally ill by a court or a commission. That means they stood before somebody and evidence was presented, and they had the ability to have a defense presented for them, or they presented it themselves, and a finding was made. Called due process.
Due process. I was just going to say.
There's the other side not that familiar with.
Right. So
or evidence.
Right. So there was this whole thing that was going around, and it was actually passed by one of our fellow N3 radio people who passed it around originally. I noticed that she passed it around, and I saw Sam jump on it pretty quickly. So I was pretty happy, and I asked them to bring it to the show today. I hope we, in this show, we satisfy her concerns with it. So I think it's a good thing that we brought that up. I'll say. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play this this Cal DOJ audio right here, and lost my thing here. Hold on.
But that was for the 80%. So I have a question because I've read and I've talked to many people that 80% lower pistols. One guy will.
It has to be settled. I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer.
Is there any way I can keep the comp mag that I paid for? Are you serious? I just bought those.
So this was the court to decide. For me, we found out now, those are the things that they refer to. The second that I refer to, if it's lawyer, you can talk about paperwork and everything.
Well, you guys have made a case to tell people not to register their guns.
That's not a big deal.
Well, it just sucks because I'm trying to be,
I don't make the law. We all
you take an oath. You take an oath.
We all
You guys take oaths. The problem is that this is
the law, and that's why
of the Constitution.
And the Constitution of California.
So the federal Constitution
is different. And
but the problem is that I'm trying to be a law-abiding citizen, and you know, all four of you know that this. You guys know that this. You guys know this is wrong. I know, but no. The problem is that the broad spectrum, where it's like some people are like, my air 50% went through just fine. And then there's other people that are like, no, I got my shop confiscated. So that's where, it's like, where in the law does it say that this unsafe handgun happened for this registration to happen? Because prior to June or July 3rd of 2018, all ghost guns, 80% lowers, had to be registered with the DOJ. You see what I'm saying? So I registered them. If I would have just let them as lowers, then it probably would have went through. You see what I'm saying?
Like I said, you registered one.
Well, I registered 4.
I have one that you registered in 2018, June 20, as lower.
Mm-hmm. That was prior to the
zero caliber. So the moment you put a number on it, it becomes a software. Unless the only way you build this is to own this one.
But
We're not asking to see it. I'm just letting you know for your reference.
But they're fixing that.
You're not letting me talk.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm a little flustered.
We're leaving, so you're not
Damn, I apologize too. I'm serious. I apologize. I really did. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry.
That one, you did not build it as a teacher's rifle. It's not going to help right now. Your conversation that we will.
Hold on. Say it one more time. I'm really sorry.
Legally registered. If you built it as anything other than a featureless rifle, as an assault weapon, if you're found in possession of it, that's a felony.
Okay.
Even if it has a bullet weapon, even if it has.
But the problem is that
other than features.
but we can't make AR-15 pistols featureless because of the overall length. Did this start today or?
January 1st, about
No, wait.
that's it. So I have to read fully.
I know. We already.
That's not telling you. I'm not a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer either.
To argue the point.
I know, but you guys.
I'm telling you what's on the books today.
I know, but you guys are the ones that are coming over here to say you uphold the law, right? And so you should know the, but to know the law, the 2016 one, that's.
You're trying to like you have no criminal history. You're just going to kick me. I'm not going to get it.
I can't keep the mag.
We can't kick that.
All right.
Okay.
Well, gentlemen. Oh, business cards, please.
I'll give you my business card.
I'll forward, please.
This is my report.
Okay.
This is my report, and then my report.
And all you guys are here, though.
Yeah, this is my report.
I got
This
that.
is my business.
That's odd, too. That's weird. I understand you guys have to deal with people that suck. I got it. There's people that are really, it's like, I'm nervous, obviously. And that's, well, it does not to be infringed. But, it does. I mean, it's like, it sucks because it's like, I'm trying to, my neighbors are probably like, oh, great. Look at the guy with tattoos, all nice. Now he has all these fucking cops in his house. It's like.
Thank you for your help.
All right, gentlemen. Have a good day.
So what do you think, gentlemen?
Well, I know a big part of how that one happened, and it was it's basically the California laws being so conflicting and so confusing that it's virtually impossible for the normal person not to run afoul of them. In this case, he didn't just build an AR pattern weapon from an 80% receiver. He built a handgun. And that trips into a whole different set of laws. Because you can't just build a semi-automatic handgun in the state of California. That goes into the whole Safe Handguns Act. And the only way around that is through the single shot exemption, where you build it originally as a single shot pistol, and then there's a way, you can work through the law to actually change that after you've registered it. He just built a straight up AR pistol right off the bat, which was building an assault weapon under California law. Right. I'm not excusing the confiscators. I'm not excusing California law, but this was a guy who really didn't know the law before he started doing what he did.
This is crazy. I mean, I heard a story about a guy many years ago in California that had an old old German machine gun or whatever, and somehow the DOJ found out about it, and they knocked on his door, and they did the same thing. They come in there real nice, just give us the firearm, and they've got a DOJ team that goes to people's places every day
taking guns from people on the prohibited persons list.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're getting to the point where they're not going to even need a list. They could just go right down the street, door to door.
But here's the deal. What's the moral of this story? Don't register shit.
Well,
seriously.
I don't want to say that out loud. I think he made it loud and clear for us.
I can say that out loud so long as I don't actually do it. Or if I do it, I'm building something, or I have things that I'm not required to register. I don't have any 80s. I haven't built any. I don't possess any. Therefore, I have nothing to register there.
Right.
I am in complete compliance with California and federal law. But if you're going to buy something and you want to keep it safe, straight up, you don't keep it safe unless you keep it on the down low. If you tell the government about it, you effectively don't have it anymore.
Yeah. If you post it on social media, you effectively don't have it anymore.
Oh, for God's sake, how true is that?
Oh, did you guys like my post? Did you see all the
Yes, I did. That's what I was referencing.
So I found this post through social media. Some person I know somewhere else. And it's this young lady, is she sitting with her boyfriend or I don't know, whoever. And they're pointing to Glock or Glock clone-like pistols at the cameraman. One having a...
That's the one you're talking about, okay.
Right, a large capacity magazine sticking out the bottom of the... it must have been at least a 25-round magazine.
Hey, at least that one I could tell the chamber was clear.
Yeah. That was a big argument. Some people were saying, "Oh, that's a airsoft gun." I said, "No, it's clearly
I could see the breech face and the firing pin. That was an actual Glock, right. And then there wasn't anything chambered.
And then the other one, you could see the hexagonal
the rifling, yeah.
Because it was slightly at an angle, but the one pistol was pointed directly at you, so you were looking straight down the barrel. Anyway, my point is. It says if you really give a crap about your weapons, don't post them on social media. I know it's cool. You want to show your friends. It's like a macho thing. But we are in a fucking time where they're going to take your fucking shit.
Don't talk about anything that you're not prepared to lose.
I mean, there's nothing more we can say than that. Stop posting your shit on social media. And then, if you are involved in criminal activities, like we have all these situations where cops shoot kids and all that stuff, the very first thing they do is go right to that social media and pull that picture up. So this guy who obviously has a weapon in a configuration that's probably illegal in all 50 states, pointing at obviously unsafe handling of the weapon, violating all the safety rules, finger straight and off the trigger, never point a weapon at anything you don't intend to destroy. You treat every weapon as if it were loaded. I mean,
all of those things.
All those things. I mean, right there, what you just did is posted evidence that you're not competent to handle a firearm.
Yeah, I got a feeling your application for the police academy might be discarded after that.
No, I mean, I don't understand young people today. Well, I'm not assuming that these people in this picture were criminals by any means, other than they, like guns or whatever. But I mean, at the point, I'm against, they have the picture of the family standing there with the shotguns, and I'm kind of against all those pictures. Like, there's really no reason to post up your weapons. There really isn't. If you really give a fuck about your constitutional rights, and I mean, look, man, we talk Second Amendment, but it really, I mean, like all your constitutional rights. There's a lot of things in there. Your right to property. I mean, that's
privacy, security in your papers and your possessions.
Your right to not, I mean, like basically you're giving up your right to keep your mouth shut.
There you go.
Picture's incriminating. So be smart.
Or at the very least, I mean, So many of us, of course, are against gun registries because it's none of the government's fucking business what you have. But those same people are then taking up their 80% freaking AK that they built out of a freaking shovel and then posting pictures of it. It's like, yeah, fuck that gun registry shit. How you like my AK? Thanks. Now we know at least you have one more. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're really, if you believe in firearms and the right to protect yourself too, you don't want everybody knowing what you have. Because as soon as you go on vacation, somebody's gonna break in your house and look for your guns.
Yep, same guy who's riding around with NRA and Glock and frickin' Daniel Defense stickers all over his car. And then he puts up on a public Facebook post, hey, we're off on vacation to Hawaii. Thanks, genius.
Be careful. Be careful about your own security. Because if you're concerned enough about your security to buy firearms, then you should be just as equally concerned to not let everybody know what you have. It's nobody's business. It's nobody's business.
Fact.
So,
right,
socialism. So one of the goals of socialism is to confiscate weapons. So this way they can confiscate your property and your wealth. My next...
In your life.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're just a slave to the master. So socialist admits their real agenda from Turning Point. This is roughly 2 minutes, so it should be pretty quick.
Libertarian socialist, right? As you would know, the workers controlling the means of production, right? That's just like an economic thing. I don't believe in big government, right? I believe
you don't.
No government.
No government. So you're an anarchist.
Yes. I believe in voluntary hierarchy and democracy.
Okay. So wow. But let me ask you a question. In all seriousness, no. Here's the question. Here's a serious question, though. What's preventing you from doing what the Amish do? Get off the grid and just go live like that right now.
Well, the Amish are religiously excluded.
No, forget the religious component. The Amish are a great example.
It's incredibly difficult to just pick up everything that you have, leave, and go.
So you want to tell me how to live?
No, I'm not telling you how to live.
No. You are because you're arguing for a governmental structure.
A lack of one, rather.
So even a lack of a governmental structure will then make me live the way you want me to live. I'm not going to tell you how to live
however you want. What I'm saying is that
you're okay with me having 5 houses and 6 yachts?
What I'm saying is the society that I currently
answer the question.
I'm forced. Wait, what?
You're okay with me having 5 houses and 6 yachts?
I'm not okay with you having them if you are not using them.
Oh, not you. So all of a sudden you're now telling me how to live my life. I'm never going to tell you how to live your life, my friend. Why are you telling me how to live mine?
What I'm saying is that there are people that are literally starving, and that if you had extra houses and they literally just came and occupied the houses that you are not using, they are justified because you are being a massive asshole.
Being a massive asshole to not... So if someone forcefully takes away something that is sedentary not being used in that purpose, it is a rightful means of theft.
Yes.
Wow. So you don't believe in private property rights?
No, I do not.
You don't believe in private property rights, so we're getting somewhere. So you're not a libertarian, my friend. Libertarians believe...
I'm not a libertarian in the American... I'm not a libertarian in the capitalist sense. I'm not a libertarian in the American sense.
So stop using the word, because you're anything but it.
What'd you guys think of that?
Oh, I remember that one well. I'm a libertarian socialist. Really? I'm a banana octopus. Okay.
So one of the reasons why I use that video is my good buddy Chris Sequel is back at it. Libertarian socialist. I don't know. He changes what he is all the time. He's democratic socialist, libertarian, but what he is literally a cultural Marxist. Okay, so we need as
cultural Marxist. Heck, he's a literal Marxist. We're going to seize the private property and we're going to use it as we see fit. Let's just go right to the Communist Manifesto right there.
All right. Well, he wrote his little Communist Manifesto himself here. I'm going to excuse the poor writing and spelling, because I thought all these socialists were educated, but apparently he's not as educated as he likes to pretend.
I've seen worse.
Yeah, I've seen worse too, but it's tough as you go through, and I didn't feel like this time around going and fixing somebody who considers himself a journalist. So Chris Sequel is my good buddy from Star Wars Underworld. We bring him up from time to time because he writes the most ridiculous and fucking asinine stuff online. And I have to hold myself back from fucking biting his face. Why we need democratic socialism. I'm going to ask you guys to read this one because I need to hear it in a nice SJW voices.
I knew you were going to ask.
It always sounds better that way.
All right, then. In pure capitalism, labor does not attract money proportionately. Rather, money attracts money proportionately. Are we waiting for Robert on this one, Al? Or?
Robert, do you want to read the next one? We'll just go back.
No, no, I think Sam's doing just fine. How about that?
Oh, my pleasure. I'm taking this one all. In this system, half of the workforce receives less than $30,000 per year. It's virtually impossible for a person to more than double their hourly labor output. And if they did, they would most likely see diminishing returns as they work more by working lower wage second and third jobs for less benefits.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Let's take a little break there. So, maybe it would be diminishing returns because the more you make, the more the government takes. Already in the capitalistic society that we live in. So maybe that's the issue. And if you already have a full-time job with benefits, maybe you don't need a second or third job with less benefits.
It's also the faulty assumption that it's basically a zero-sum game. This is the pie you get. It can only be divided up in so many pieces, and it doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah,
this is assuming that people can't have. If you do have a second job, there's people that have some pretty damn good side hustles that do pretty freaking good.
I mean, like this. I hope someday that we're able to monetize this and kind of help
be pretty
supplement our income. Hell, it'd be great.
Yeah,
but it's the idea that we have this opportunity. I mean, he's not. I mean, people aren't stupid out there. I mean, people can get out there and get jobs. People can grow in their jobs. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible.
Hey, real quick, guys. Just real quick, I have to bow out. I want to let you guys finish the show. I just want to real quick plug me, Beachball. You can find me at n3radio2017@gmail.com. And don't forget that right after D-Tom, every Wednesday is Jazzlands, best in jazz music, then The Wave, best in synth, retro, and dark wave, and then Bang Your Head. You guys, you keep it going.
Hey, one more thing. Plug our sponsor right now.
Yes, our sponsor right now is sponsoring N3 Radio. We have two sponsors, actually. It is Perky's Paperbacks, the best in old-time paperback novels, old science fiction novels, mystery novels, whatever you're looking for. Check them out, Perky's Paperbacks, and as well as Third Eye Entertainment.
Hey, is Perky's Paperback, is that a .com?
It can be. I think it is. I have not been to the website personally in a couple of months, but if you just look up Perky's Paperbacks, you Google it, you'll find it.
Okay, cool.
Google it.
And Third Eye is our artist management company, correct?
Correct.
All right, so that's our second
sponsors.
Great.
I'm feeling big time here.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for your presence today. It was great.
No problem. Don't worry. Hey, next week our next advertiser we'll get you some free Propecia samples there, Trooper Sam.
Oh, outstanding! Just what I wanted.
Okay, you guys have a good show.
All right.
Later, Beach Ball.
Later.
Okay. So, we stopped at the second part, right?
Yes, we left off at the third jobs, less benefits, blah, blah, blah. Right. So, SJW Sam, get back over here by the mic. Oh, okay. Jeez. Yet, in certain large cities, an income below $60,000 is considered below the poverty line. It's anything below $100,000 in San Francisco.
Pause.
And I just love San Francisco.
Sam. Pause, SJW Sam. Yes, because of fucking taxes. It's because of fucking taxes. You fucking imbecile.
It's not just the taxes. It's a real estate market that's gone irrationally hot in San Francisco. Believe you me, right now it's driven by the big tech companies, Google and what have you.
Lucasfilm.
But I mean, the big tech companies actually have bus lines that bring people into the city every day. Because they can't actually live in San Francisco to go to work. Or the ones that do live in San Francisco actually have to be driven to the campuses that are outside the city. I mean, Apple and Google have their gigantic campuses, and they part of their perks is getting shuttled to work.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you got to also look at this. I mean, I say taxes as kind of a general umbrella, but tolls, parking, all that stuff is taxes.
I'll tell you what, though. Wait and see what happens when the next real housing crash happens. It's $100,000 will still probably be poverty level in San Francisco, but it also won't be anybody there. If the tech industry ever moves out of California, man, this state is screwed financially.
Right. I like to bring that up because it's just the fact that he uses San Francisco as his baseline to determine how he's going to talk about. It's obvious that he's cherry picking what he wants you to hear to support his story. So let's go to the next one here.
Well, there's still half a paragraph there left.
I'm sorry, I stopped you in the middle.
SGW Sam, go ahead, pick it up. In addition to a lack of proportionality, overtime labor is evaluated at a diminishing amount against a cost of living as wages stagnate. And there we have the good old wages stagnating story. But continuing.
Okay.
However, money does attract money proportionately. Not only can a $10,000 investment automatically yield 10 times as a $1,000 investment, but larger or riskier investments yield exponentially more than smaller or safer ones. I think this is a good place for me to stop because I think we want to discuss this one.
Wait. Isn't that just stating fact?
Well, I mean, the first one, 10,000 attracts, yield 10 times more. Yeah, because $10,000 buys 10 times more than $1,000.
Because it's a higher risk.
Thanks for passing basic addition.
Because it's a higher risk.
And then also, larger or riskier investments yield exponentially more. Yeah, guess what? They can lose a shitload more than that too when they fail.
Because they're riskier.
It's called risk. It's called being willing to endure some risk for gains. Anybody can do that, just not everybody's ready to shoulder that kind of risk.
This is like flat Earth theory level fucking stupidity.
Oh.
And I thought this guy was a smart guy.
It's meme tier bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the other 98% or Occupy Democrats level meme worthy.
And then, of course, it continues on with the standard, class warfare, class envy thing. SGW Sam, pick up on this because I don't want to read this. You get this. Oh, all right. Stop pushing. With an investment, someone with $1 million can easily make more than the salaries of over half the labor force in 1 year, while reinvesting 10% of a median salary can yield no more than $300 annually. That is a ratio of 100 to 1 between a millionaire and more than half the labor force in earning potential. Oh, God, Jesus. Get out of the way, SGW Sam. We're going to talk about this.
You really are an ass.
Oh boy, am I. Seriously.
I think Jimmy was talking to Chris. He wasn't talking to you.
Well, good.
Robot Jimmy's talking to Chris.
Yeah. He may not have been talking to me, but fuck it means me anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's go ahead and just take the worst case scenario. 10% of a median salary can yield no more than $300 annually. Yeah, that would be a real shit tier year. That's basically almost the worst case scenario. It isn't the absolute worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is, yeah, you could lose money, even in a low risk investment. That risk could still come up and bite you. But as an average, investments rise over time. It's inevitable. You take any 10-year window and you see a multiple percentage point increase. To just try and say that the fact that you can make as little as $300 by investing 10% of your income, well, yeah, you could also do a lot better. And on an average, you will. This is strictly bullshit. It's defeatist. It's trying to tell people that they are absolutely powerless, and the only ones that have any power are the people that actually have the millions or billions of dollars.
The masters. It's the masters.
Don't
you understand? Right. The masters.
We're just slaves.
So, like guys like us, we're anti-government. So what we want to do is we want to give the government all our money. Because they can do it much better.
By the way, government officials are killing us, but we want the government to take our guns. Okay, right, that makes sense to me too. Anyway, let's continue on. SJW Sam back over here by the mic. Stop pushing me!
Wow, you're getting physical with him, Sam?
Dude, he's
probably bruised.
Here's the thing. He gets cranky from time to time. And let's face it, I slap around a little bit. He needs it.
That can be quite problematic.
Don't pretend you don't like it. Well, okay.
That can be quite problematic there, Sam.
Anyway.
That's toxic masculinity, Sam.
Oh, don't do that to me.
Such a bully and a Nazi.
He likes it.
Yeah.
There are only two ways into and at the middle class and out of poverty in capitalism. One is to climb the labor pyramid to more specialized or rare jobs.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
However, as salaries increase, availability decreases proportionately. The other is to invest in corporations and profit off the labor of others. This is effectively a plantation economy. Ow, I hurt myself punching my own fist. The majority of the labor force are wage slaves earning a poverty income that is diminishing against living costs. The small percentage are slave managers who make marginally more and sometimes escape poverty, but very rarely enter the upper class. And a tiny percent are slave owners who receive proportionally increasing returns off of slave labor as their investments grow.
That's right. They just stand there and they watch the slaves.
That's right.
Work the plantation.
No, we are slaves. We can't go anywhere. If we walk off the job, we'll be homeless and starve. The larger the economy grows through this system. Don't tease me like that. This is serious.
This isn't serious. This is
That's so brutal.
Yeah, it's very toxic, isn't it?
Toxic. It kind of smells bad, too. All that sweat. But on the other hand, Gerald Dutler did look pretty awesome. Never mind. The larger the economy grows through this system, the more slaves there will be. And the fewer middle and upper class managers and masters will become as wealth is consolidated. Because money attracts money, the government becomes increasingly a mechanism of slave masters to protect and grow their wealth. They must increase slave output while decreasing slave compensation.
You know,
All right,
I like how...
Get out of my room. I had enough of you. That just made me sick listening to you reading that. I'm going. Stop. Just get out. Oh, God. If you didn't love him, I wouldn't let him stay here.
It's amazing how he like throws slave in front of every as a adjective.
Yes, because this is a totally involuntary. There's no consent involved in this exchange whatsoever.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens. You just throw slave in front of every other word, and it makes it this effective thing. But you know, I noticed that he doesn't have any counter talk to explain how socialism is any different or any better.
Well, that's because he would only be able to bring up the same tired Marxist points that anybody has already debunked completely from not only the Communist Manifesto, but from, just observing failed socialist states.
But you didn't read Karl Marx's democratic Marxism. You didn't read that one.
Yeah, I think there's a reason for that one.
Yeah, you didn't read the Democratic Communist Manifesto. You didn't read that one because that one, it puts democratic in front of everything to make it think like we all voted for the shit that we're going to eat. And the bread lines and not having toilet paper.
Oh, good Lord, I kicked him out too soon. And he went out the front door. I'm going to have to read the rest of this myself.
Or I mean, we could do that, or we could put a check mark on it, and we could come back to it on another time.
That'd be fine, too. I have no trouble revisiting this. I love discrediting socialism whenever we get the chance. So, I mean, hey.
I just don't want to. I don't want to bore too many people because it is fucking tiresome.
And he really was just tedious in this thing.
Right. So I'm gonna put a little mark there just to show where we left off. It was output while decreasing slave compensation, right? So I'm gonna put a little mark there and highlight that. Okay. All right. So we'll know where we can go from. We're currently an hour and 30 minutes into the show. Why did Hitler and Stalin go to war? This is Dinesh D'Souza. Pot it up here for you here.
Nazism and fascism in Germany was so similar to Stalinism in the Soviet Union. Why did Hitler consider Stalin his greatest enemy and consider that Libbenstrom to the east was the way to go and killed 80% of his soldiers to fight the Soviets if they were basically the same ideology?
Very good question, which is if Nazism and communism are both leftist, how come they went to war? First of all, it's important to realize that ideologies that are very close to each other frequently do go to war. The Catholics and the Protestants, the Shia and the Sunni. The Shia and the Sunni are both in the House of Islam. They actually agree on 99% of theological beliefs, but they've been fighting for centuries. Why? Competitions over territory and power and so on. Remember that Hitler was a National Socialist. The reason that Hitler hated the communists was not because they were socialists. He liked that part about it. What he didn't like is that they were taking their orders from Moscow. He saw them as traitors to Germany. So Hitler's priority was socialism in Germany. Now remember that Hitler went to war with Stalin, was allied with Stalin. So on the foreign policy domain, Hitler was perfectly happy to sign the Hitler-Stalin Pact and then violate it for reasons of national interest. So the bottom line of it is the fact that Germany and the Soviet Union went to war in no way refutes the idea that progressivism, communism, and fascism were all three sister movements that developed in Germany, in Italy, in America, and in Russia, all in response to the crisis of Marxism.
Lincoln was elected to unite a country and stop slavery. Democrats smeared him, went to war against him, assassinated him. Now their target is Trump. They say he's a racist, a fascist, But who are the real racists and fascists? If a nation dies because people are not free, it's now up to us to save America a second time.
You know, Dinesh D'Souza's his film that was on Rotten Tomatoes was bashed by SJWs, believe it or not.
Oh, say it isn't so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The same exact argument that the SJWs are arguing to say, oh, these guys are coming in and raiding the, over political. They did the same thing to his movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and that is a fact. And Rotten Tomatoes did nothing about it. So our next story here is a good one. We'll be able to pump through this. It's 21 fake hate crimes, hoaxes promoted by left since Trump took office. This is from the WND.com.
World Net Daily.
So we'll take turns. If there's anything to add to it, we'll add to it. We'll just pause and we'll add to it.
And the list is even actually larger than this, but this is like a top 21.
Right. I think there's 23 altogether. Actually, they added a couple bonuses in there. But I cut out a lot of the fat out of the stuff that's recent, like the Catholic school kids and some of the stuff that was real recent. But the first one is the anti-Muslim hate crime in Michigan turns out to be a hoax. November 2016. So a Muslim woman in the University of Michigan received national attention from national outlets like the Washington Post in November 2016 after she claimed a drunk 20-something man threatened to light her on fire if she didn't remove her hijab. The university condemned the hateful attack, which turned out to be a hoax.
Yep, I remember. I mean, that was like so soon after the election.
Right. Right. There's a couple of those, too. Yep.
A bisexual student fakes Trump-inspired hate crime also in November of 2016.
Ooh.
Taylor Volk, an openly bisexual senior at North Park University, claimed to be the target of hateful notes and emails following Trump's election in November of 2016. Volk told NBC News that, quote, "I just want them to stop," end quote. But the them she referenced turned out to be herself, as the whole thing was fabricated.
Would you imagine that? Imagine that?
Who saw that coming?
No. Oh, gas station racism goes viral. Police debunk it. November 2016. Oh, wow, the same month, huh? Philadelphia woman Ashley Boyer claimed in November 2016 that she was harassed at a gas station by white Trump-supporting males, one of who pulled a weapon on her. Boyer claimed that the men proceeded to talk about the election and how they're glad they won't have to deal with the N-word much longer. Boyer deleted her post after it went viral and claimed that the men had been caught and were facing criminal charges. Local police debunked her account.
Say it isn't so.
No, that wouldn't happen. Get out of here. Oh, my God. Is this Kelly Marie?
I mean, seriously, whenever I hear about one of these hate crimes anymore, I can't help it. My first response is automatically, all right, what are the odds?
Yeah, I need to see evidence before I jump on any lynch mobs, to get out there.
And with the whole Jussie Smollett thing, I actually just sat that one out. Notice, I really didn't post anything about that until finally the Chicago PD said, yeah, this ain't looking good.
Yeah.
At that, I held off. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit this one out. There's plenty of people out there picking this one apart. I don't have to be the guy.
Yeah, I think we get into that at the end.
Anyway, white man robbed Muslim woman of her hijab and wallet. Except it never happened. November of 2016.
Get out of here.
Say it isn't so. An 18-year-old Muslim woman in Louisiana claimed in November of 2016 that two white men, one of whom was wearing a Trump hat. Uh-oh, there's the MAGA hat again.
I bet you it was red.
Yes. Triggering red. Attacked and robbed her, taking her wallet and hijab, while yelling racial slurs. She later admitted to the Lafayette Police Department that she made the whole thing up.
You wouldn't say.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't if it wasn't actually true.
Church organist vandalizes his own church, November 2016. Oh, my God. What's the key here?
Wow.
A church organist was arrested in May 2017 after he found responsible for spray painting a swastika, an anti-gay slur, and the words "Hail Trump" on his own church in November 2016. The story first broke. Media outlets tied the hoax to Trump's election. The offensive graffiti at St. David's is among numerous incidents that have occurred in the wake of Trump's Election Day win, the Washington Post reported at the time.
And what I also recall is they declined to press charges ultimately.
Oh, my God. Well, I mean, he did vandalize his own place. And,
yeah.
You know, it's one thing when there's no, like, real victim. You know what I'm saying?
But actual property destruction, really, you'd think thered be some kind of penalty. But, you know how hard it is to get a guy who's good on the organ.
Right.
Anyway, drunk white men attack Muslim woman in story that also never happened. December 2016.
Oh, a new month.
Yes. Well, there's only so much room in November,
right,
bro.
Yeah, you run out of days. There's only 30.
1 month
31.
isn't enough to contain all the hate.
30 days in November, right?
Another 18-year-old Muslim woman, this time in New York, was the subject of breathless headlines in December 2016 after she claimed to have been attacked by a group of Donald Trump supporters on a New York subway, while onlookers did nothing. The woman, Yasmin Saweed, would go on to confess that she made the whole thing.
Wow. Man, they break them quick.
I know.
White guy set his own car on fire, paints racial slur on his own garage. December 2016, you wouldn't say. Denton, Texas, resident David Williams set his own car on fire and painted N-word lovers on his home garage in an attempt to stage a hate crime. Local police investigated the arson as a hate crime. Williams and his wife Jenny collected more than $5,000 from Good Samaritans via GoFundMe page before the hoax was exposed. Ooh.
This is Trump's America.
MAGA.
When a white guy stages his own hate crime.
Wow, yeah, it's amazing. Wow.
Holy shit. I just have to imagine, like, he's already made the insurance claim, too. And then it comes out.
Oh, I need that money.
So much.
I need that money because I'm a Hillary supporter. Oh, my God.
Anyway, prankster tricks liberal journalist into spreading anti-Trump hoax. December 2016, as tales of Trump-inspired hate crimes were spread far and wide by liberal journalists after Trump's election, one online prankster decided to test just how easy it was to fool journalists. I can't imagine why anybody would think this might be a good idea.
All right. Well,
The prankster sent Mike.com writer Sarah Harvard a fictitious story in which a Native American claimed to have been harassed by an alleged Trump supporter who thought she was Mexican. Despite no evidence backing up the claim, Harvard spread the fake story, emails the prankster shared with the Daily Caller.
Wow.
Of like, because if you see an opening, man, exploit that shit.
Oh, here's a whole 2 months later. So no hoaxes to report. And,
they got a little gun shy after being shown.
Right.
Student
writes anti-Muslim graffiti on his own door, February 2017. A Muslim student at Beloy College wrote anti-Muslim graffiti on his own dorm room door. The student reportedly motivated by a desire to seek attention after a Jewish student was targeted with an anti-Semitic note.
Israeli man behind anti-Semitic bomb threats in the U.S.
Get out of here.
In April 2017. Media outlets didn't wait to find out who was behind a string of bomb threats targeting synagogues and Jewish schools before linking the threats to Trump. A U.S. Israeli man was charged in April 2017 and indicted in February of 2018 for making the threats. A former reporter for The Intercept was also charged in March 2017 with making several copycat threats.
Get out of here. No way.
And
this is below the Marxist. It's below the Marxist to create false flags. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the American Israeli guy, he was actually also mentally impaired. He truly did. I mean, not even making fun of him. He's one of those guys that really didn't have all of his marbles.
Right.
He actually wanted to join the Israeli military, and he'd been rejected because, quite frankly, he just wasn't up to it. And he lashed out in anger over that. He made all of those false bomb threats. Actually, it's a really sad story, and I felt bad for him. But the former Intercept journalist, fuck that guy.
Hoax at St. Olaf, May 2017. So right into the next month. Students at St. Olaf College in Minnesota staged protests and boycotted classes in May 2017 after racist notes targeting black students were found around campus. Earning coverage in national media outlets like the Washington Post. Ooh, surprise. It came out that the black student was responsible for the racist note. The student carried out the hoax in order to draw attention to concerns about the campus climate and the university announced.
Yeah, what a surprise.
This is the
fake hate at Air Force Academy goes viral.
Yeah.
September 2017.
That was a big one.
It really was.
Yeah.
The Air Force Academy was thrown into turmoil in September of 2017 when horrific racist notes were found at the Academy's preparatory school. "Go home, Edward," read one of the notes. The superintendent, Lieutenant General J.B. Silvera, went viral with impassioned speech addressing the racist notes. "If you can't treat someone with dignity and respect, then you need to get out." And 2 months later, authorities determined that one of the students targeted by the notes was, in fact, the person responsible for writing them.
Get out. No way.
I know. And that's a really sad one because, I mean, somebody would be so consumed by this leftist, hateful, frickin' trash to frickin' sink what would be probably a good military career.
Yeah, it's crazy.
At that point, he's not actually in the Air Force Academy. He's in their prep school. But, I mean, that's a really good jumping off point to get your Air Force Academy appointment from. And, well, pretty much guaranteed that was never going to happen once he got caught for this.
Yeah. K-State fake hate crimes, November 2017. It's almost a whole year later. A student at Kansas State University filed a police report in November 2017 over racist graffiti left on his car. "Go home, N-boy, and whites only," read the racist graffiti, which the student later admitted to writing himself.
Get out of town.
No way.
Racist graffiti carried out by non-white student in November of 2017. Another instance of racist graffiti that same month also turned out to be a hoax. A Missouri high school investigated after racial slurs were left on a bathroom mirror in November of 2017, only to find that the student responsible was non-white.
Would you say that there was graffiti on a window, on a mirror in a bathroom at a college? Are you kidding me?
Who ever heard of such a thing? Usually it's carved in there with a knife.
My God. Waiter fakes note calling himself a terrorist, July 2018.
Oh, I remember that one.
Texas waiter Khalil Kavil went viral after posting a Facebook picture of a racist note that is claimed a customer had left on a receipt in lieu of a tip. The note described Kavil as a terrorist. Saltgrass Steakhouse, where Kavil worked, initially banned the customer for life before the investigation revealed that the waiter had faked the racist note. I did write it, Kavil later admitted. "I don't have an explanation. I made a mistake. There is no excuse for what I did."
I don't have an explanation.
Right. That was on Facebook. I mean, I remember the outrage and everybody jumping on that bandwagon as if it was real without thinking or even just look. If people are, I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who are capable of doing hatred, but they're not doing it on this level. You know, if you need to find racism, that you need to even stage your own false flags. I mean, that's really pretty. I mean, that's a pretty good situation you're living in.
Let's face it: the fact that they feel the need that they have to create this out of thin air indicates it's not happening that much in real life.
So this article was originally supposed to go with the whole Kelly Marie Tran thing, because I mean it's just another example of using false flag racism in order to push an agenda. People didn't like a movie, so they created this false flag racist attack, which turned out to be completely fake and maybe even done by their own operative. You know, so I mean, we're bringing that up. If you didn't listen to last week's show, it was a doozy. You should really check it out. Go back, listen to episode 35, The Fandom Menace, and you'll get what we're talking about.
Anyway, continuing on.
Okay.
So the last one was a waiter. Next one, what a surprise, a waitress.
No way.
Waitress fakes racist note, blames law enforcement. This was July of 2018. A Texas waitress apologized in July 2018 after blaming local law enforcement for an offensive note targeting Mexicans. She later admitted to writing the note herself.
No way. Get out of here. New York woman hate crime that wasn't September 2018. New York woman was charged in September.
You got your kids in the background?
Let me pause this, please. All right, I'm back. Where we
you want to take it back from the top with the New York hate crime that wasn't?
New York woman's hate crime that wasn't September 2018. A New York woman was charged in September 2018 after police determined she fabricated a story about white teens yelling racial slurs at her and leaving a racist note on her car.
I swear to God, at this point, it's almost getting boring because it's like it's like the same story over and over.
Yeah, it's like it's not even like you're not even trying. You're not even trying.
I mean, the next one's about racist notes. Student faked racist notes. It's like everybody got together and go, let's do notes this time.
Right.
December 2018. Several racist notes at Drake University were actually the work of one of the students who had been targeted by them. The fact that the actions of the student who has admitted guilt were propelled by motives other than hate does not minimize the worry and emotional harm they caused, but should temper fears, University President Marty Martin said afterwards. Marty Martin, good Lord.
Wow.
How does that even become a freaking university president?
Wow. So then the next one, I pulled all the guts out of it because it's the
because we all know about what happened with the Covington
or we
kids.
should. If you don't know, I don't know how you're listening to this show, but the Covington catastrophe, January 2019. Some boys went to Washington D.C. on a school trip with a Catholic school. They got MAGA hats. They were standing there. They were being bombarded with racial attacks by the Black Israelites. And while that happened, a activist Native American took it as an opportunity to get a picture next to the boys, and then claim that the boys were harassing him when evidence proves otherwise to be a complete and utter hoax, that the Native American fellow went out of his way to put himself into the situation, and there was no hate projected at him. So, I mean, we'll keep that short. We'll go on to the next one.
All right. So, bonus. Anti-Semitic vandal exposed as Democratic activists. That wasn't all, but no. Let's just read the text here, and we can add additional detail to that.
Right.
On November 2018, anti-Semitic vandalism turns out to be the work of a Democratic activist. It wasn't a hoax. The anti-Semitic vandalism was real, but the perpetrator wasn't the right-winger some had assumed him to be. And in fact, he was a young black man that was adopted by a family of Democrats and raised and grew up and got involved in Democratic pursuits, and then went off the rails and did this. And was caught on video, no less.
Yeah. So here's our second bonus. Trump-inspired racist racist blaze at Black Church was carried out by a black churchgoer, November 2016. This hoax occurred 1 week before Trump was elected. The DCNF is including it as a bonus because it was so egregious. Left media outlets ran headlines like "A black church burned in the name of Trump" after a black church in Greenville, Mississippi was set on fire, spray painted the words "Vote Trump." The Washington Post original coverage of the incident read in part, Greenville Mayor Eric Simmons called the fire a hateful and cowardly act, sparked by incendiary rhetoric of the GOP nominee Donald Trump during his presidential campaign. But the church was set on fire by one of the church's own people, who is black. So that's the last one. That was a real big one because
even after all of those, and even ones we haven't talked about here that aren't on this list, still the leftist media, whatever, and even with one given to them just to prove that they would go, they could be catfished just like anybody, still accept every one of these stories with complete credulity, absolutely no doubt, and present it as absolute fact, despite what they've been through.
So, I mean, like now that we've talked about these stories and we've gone through all these hoaxes, and I mean, like, everything is really kind of about painting this broad-stroked picture of white America being this racist thing that's helping the poor and anti-everything.
Hey, look for me on Twitter. Godwin Meter at Twitter. At Godwin Meter. I'm having a good old time. I've kind of engaged one of the Gamergate central figures lately, Brianna Wu, who's running for a Massachusetts House seat. So this one's going to be fun. She posted up some wonderful lies about 5.56 rifles the other day. I suggest you go check it out.
Oh, so she's on the Gamergate thing and about 5.56 rifles. Wow, that's a broad spectrum.
Yeah, talk about intersectionality.
Wow, amazing.
Anyway, there's also one thing I said earlier where I was saying, don't register shit. I want to read to you a little excerpt from a Supreme Court decision from 1968 called Haynes versus United States, and just basically what it stated. It stated the background in it was that a gentleman who was in possession of a firearm that was required to be registered under the National Firearms Act was charged with not registering, but he was a criminal who was not legally able to be in possession of it. That Supreme Court case found that you could not compel a criminal to register a firearm because that would be self-incrimination. Wow. Basically, if you've got something that's not legal, they can't charge you with not registering it.
Wow.
That's a Supreme Court decision right there.
That's interesting. That's really, 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 really smart.
They can get you for possession, sure, but they can't charge you with not registering.
Right. That's really interesting. I never knew.
Yeah.
That. Well, that's why I brought you here. That's why I brought you in. That's why I brought you in right there. That's a good reason right there. All right, so I'm MADDOG, DTom at yahoo.com. You can get me there. I'm really going to be pushing this Twixit thing, which is hashtag Twixit. It's the idea of getting to all conservatives to collectively drop Twitter all at once and collapse the platform.
N3 Radio is a non-profit teaching platform for non-professionals. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or professional use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Pepsi bottle? A Coca-Cola glass? I don't give a damn.
Providing you with a variety of music with limited interruptions, it's N3 Radio.